Alright everyone, now we have to talk about Apple's crap. I literally call them crap. Well, I have never used nor ever will use or own an Apple device. This is part of the reason why. Although if you think this is just Apple and they're not just the ones stupidly putting out a presser about it, again, you know, the neurons just aren't firing quite yet. Make sure to clank some more coffee. I've got mine right here, so no worries. And it's double strength. By the way, it's the reason I'm so energetic. And it's fucking 2 hours earlier than I usually operate. Here's the thing. Apple has come out and they're partnering with the government and they're cross-checking users' personal files against like a list of illicit material. Now, so let's hold the phones for a second. Do I care whether people get in trouble for illicit material? No, absolutely not. Do I care about the concept of tech mission creep that will inevitably occur after this when Apple expands this program, uses it for political reasons, when government bureaus employ it for political and social reasons that have absolutely nothing to do with protecting kids or any other violated group? Yeah, I do. And here's the problem. I literally predicted that this would begin happening with Windows new update. And I guarantee that it'll do the same thing. It'll have the same cross-checking. There's probably a backdoor agreement that they have to do that at this point. I'll be switching to Linux for a reason, because I actually give a shit about privacy. I said that what was going to happen as tech continued, what we've seen over the last few years is a steady move towards cloud computing, less and less proprietary personal ownership over actual data. It was inevitable, therefore, that companies would begin looking through people's personal files. They will begin deleting them if they don't like them. If you use Windows, like I do, and you upgrade to Windows 11, the government will be able to look through your files without a warrant at a whim, because they've partnered with these firms. It is a fundamental workaround of the Fourth Amendment. Now, what worries me is that they're selling it to you on the think of the children basis. What do we know about bills and laws and regulations and corporate moves, as this is technically, that are built on the premise of think of the children? It's never really about saving the children. It really isn't. It's not this is not in the end going to be like, hey, we managed to stop all human trafficking. Bullshit. They'll just adapt. The black market will continue, in tech as well. They'll just find new technology. It is inevitable that that will happen. What will really happen is that private individuals will have their files gone through, and eventually things will go missing, Stalin style. And they can do it at the press of a button worldwide. They can make all of those things disappear. Political opinions can be completely destroyed in a matter of a few hours. Social opinions can be wiped off the face of the earth. A text file, a book can be literally digitally burned because they have remote access to all the systems that would be storing that particular book. This is why I use removable storage. This is why I will stop using Windows after this computer needs to be replaced. Because I just don't, I don't have the tolerance anymore for the horse shit that I've seen since, well, technically it's been going on forever, but especially since the 9/11 era, which is think of the children. Think of human decency. We can help people, says the government. We've got this blacklist of images and videos. We'll cross-check it with Apple. See, we're not violating the Fourth Amendment. Apple's doing it. They're a private company. If you don't like it, make your own iPhone. Apple will cross-check it with or without your permission against the database, and we'll nail the child abusers. That sounds great on paper. Again, the problem is it won't work. They'll just move it off to a non-Apple device anyway. So in other words, you've warned these people preemptively, hey, use an Android. Who are you going to catch? Now what's going to happen is that the government will eventually, it'll be like Love Int. Like when Snowden made his revelations about the NSA. You remember, the NSA supposedly, we're going to catch terrorists. We're going to keep you safe by making sure terrorists don't kill you. Oh, but then it turned out thousands and thousands of agents had used this particular classification header, Love Int, Love Intelligence, to spy on loved ones, family members, spouses, kids, and stuff like that. Well, that's not saving people from terrorism. That's called an egregious abuse of the Fourth Amendment. Do you think this program will be any different? Do you think that this blacklist will only be illegal things, or do you think that there will be mission creep and like literally every other government program, this being a literal soft fascism because it involves the government directly partnering with a corporation, and the corporation has no problem with it, read their fucking presser, that's even more astonishing. Do you think that eventually it'll be, hey, Apple just decided they didn't like your material. Yeah, well, you can't make videos anymore because we're just going to keep scrubbing them. We've decided this person is deleterious for society, says the billionaire class. So we're just going to go through and make sure that we've removed every copy of their book off every hard drive in the world that's accessed through an Apple operating system. Hey, we're a private company. If you don't like it, you can make your own Apple. Haven't we heard this basic premise before? I mean, there are a lot of people who cheer for it. And here's the thing. The reason why they did this in the Think of the Children guys is because a lot of people won't speak out against it because they don't want it. Because then Apple will say, well, you're adjacent to child abuse. You're supporting child abusers. Well, no, you'll point out. It's just that, if a person sees this, you're warning them not to use an Apple device. So who are you catching? What purpose does it serve? And it's a major rollout across all of these devices. It's clearly not just for that purpose, because it's clearly not going to work for that purpose. No reasonable individual really taking 5 minutes to think of the actual ramifications of employing such a system would propose that it'll actually be effective for what it's being billed for. It'll be very effective at creating a circumvention to the Fourth Amendment. It'd be great for circumventing the basic premise that has been pretty sacrosanct throughout time of proprietary ownership of one's data. Like, I have a video backup. If I'm using an Apple device, maybe Apple remotely accesses my system and says, well, everything on your system is now technically ours. We're just renting you a device to store it on. We're going to start deleting your files. We're going to start... You've got a copy of the Anarchist cookbook. I think you should be on the no-fly list. We're telling the FBI. What's to stop them from doing that? Again, do you really think that this is all going to be geared towards stopping human trafficking or something like that? That's how they advertise. That's how they brand these things. Then they roll them out, and then 10 years later you find out it's worse. This was the case with Snowden with regards to the NSA leaks. We were told years and years ago the NSA does metadata, and it's geared towards foreign targets. Like they're spying on Osama bin Laden. They're spying on Saddam's nephew or something like that. They're not spying on you. They're not holding your data. But then we found out that they were. That's the problem. It is never as limited and rosy and cherry-coated with ice cream and sprinkles as it's presented as. The government is not in the habit of protecting people. You have to protect yourself. What the government does is use the guise of protecting people to take more of your money, to nationalize property, to abuse you more and more, and to throw people in prison that by and large are innocent, while partnering with corporations to essentially eliminate the concept of tech proprietary ownership. The internet, as a boogeyman, has been sold to soccer moms across the Western Hemisphere. And they've told people, well, because of the internet, there's drug sales, human trafficking, and all these things. They tie it into crypto. They tie it into the idea of blockchains. Anything which even remotely provides a hindrance to corporate fascism trying to take over proprietary ownership of material. Don't you find it a little bit mysterious that it all happens to be attacked with the same basic premise in mind? I do. I think that Apple's a terrible company. I don't know why anyone would continue using them regardless. I've never used Apple in my life and never would. It's not just because of this, it's just inferior anyway. You're paying more for the same thing, for less functionality in many cases. What the hell is the point of Apple? They shouldn't even exist as a friggin' company. Plus, they use slave labor in China. Yeah, we're going to save children in the United States and Canada and places like that from being trafficked while getting our devices made by 12-year-olds in China that work 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, and have suicide nets outside of the factory windows. That makes a whole lot of sense. You see, it's a con. It's a ruse to get you to accept more circumvention of your personal rights, as opposed to the law enforcement simply doing its job. Apple already partners with them in doing this. It's not been a problem before. You didn't need to go through people's personal files prior. It's just corporate fascism at the end of the day. That's about all. Peace out.